And welcome to the online version of the Physician Assistant Application Basics. I am your humble narrator and pre-health advisor, Resa Brinkley. For those of you who have not met with me individually, here is a snapshot of my contact information. I operate within University Career Services here at UNC. We are located in Haynes Hall. My web address is where probably 85% of the information we're about to cover can be found, at least links to it. And then here's my email address and the number to the UCS help desk. So I hope if you're looking at this video, you're interested in becoming a physician assistant. If you are just curious about the field of physician assistants, here's a little more information about them. There's a nice graphic of physician assistant students practicing intubation or opening the airway. They are mid-level care providers. They must have a formal supervising physician. They diagnose, treat, and prescribe, but the range of their activities and responsibilities will vary based on the physician who is supervising them. By that, I mean the responsibility level and the daily tasks of someone who is, say, a pediatric PA, which is hopefully just dealing with infections or colds or overacting parents or vaccinations, will definitely differ from those of a surgical scrub PA in a large metropolitan area. The hours that you have and the tasks that you perform will vary based on the role and the practice of the physician who is supervising you. The largest entity that employs PAs is actually the VA, but you'll notice from the graph that the majority of physician assistants operate within physicians' offices and private clinics, smaller clinics. A big chunk of them are also in hospitals, and a similar chunk are available in a mixture of public health, private health, and government. They are consistently ranked within the top 5 jobs and the master's degree with the highest growth rate and potential for growth. There are over 200 accredited, and probably more since the time it took me to say this sentence, accredited or developing PA programs. The average length of any given program is 27 months. I'm sorry, there seems to be an extra bullet point in there. Too late to change it now. The didactic training of a PA education consists of classroom and laboratory instruction in medical and behavioral sciences such as anatomy, microbiology, immunology, pharmacology, pathophysiology, all kinds of ologies, and then into clinical medicine and physical diagnosis, followed by clinical rotations in internal medicine, family medicine, surgery, pediatrics, OBGYN, emergency medicine, and geriatric medicine, with some programs allowing for elective rotations. See, when you are shadowing or reaching out to physician assistants, is their name, comma, PA-C. That means that they are a certified physician assistant and they have passed their PANCE, which if you have met with me before, you know I never miss an opportunity to say pass the PANCE. It is the Physician Assistant National Certification Exam. It's limited. The PAC designation is limited only to those PAs currently certified and in compliance with the regulations of the National Certifying Organization, the National Commission on Certification of Physician Assistants, and those who have passed the PANCE. PAs must re-register or recertify every 2 years. Now, this is a pretty recent change with continuing medical education hours and every 10 with a complete retake. There are about 50-some-odd postgraduate specialty programs, and as much as it pains me to say it, one of the forefronts is Duke's Surgical Scrub PA program. Now, as anyone who has ever met with me also knows, you get more than you bargain for with any individual meeting. It is never just a simple A to B conversation. I have a lot of students who come in and they tell me what they want out of a career in medicine and what some of their intrinsic goals are, and they don't realize they're telling me exactly what a nursing program is going to provide and saying they want physician assistant. Again, there are over 200 PA schools. They last about 2 to 3 years. 27 months is the average, and the PANCE is the National Certifying Exam. They subscribe to what we refer to as the medical model, which is generally treatment of a problem. Now, in nursing, there are many, many different accession points into the field. Yes, in its first degree, I'll go over some of those in a second. There are over 700 of them. The length is variable depending on the program, and it's the NCLEX, which is the National Certifying Exam that you have to take. So again, the nurses follow a patient-centered model in which they focus on disease prevention and health education, as well as they handle assessment, diagnosis, and treatment. again, diagnostic, treatment, and prescriptive rights within both of these mid-level care providers if you're talking about nurse practitioner to PA being as close to parallels as you can. Physician assistants follow the disease-centered model in which they focus on the biologic and pathologic components of health, as well as are involved in assessment, diagnosis, and treatment. Hey, those are the same words all over again. Another difference to consider when looking at a nurse practitioner versus physician assistant career is the areas of specialization that are available. Physician assistants tend to be a bit jack of all trades, whereas nursing can go for a lot more depth within a particular specialty within their advanced practice. There are also much more comprehensive opportunities for are some of the different accession points and areas for growth within physician assistant, but look at all of these different ones within nursing. BSN is first degree. There are several bridge programs. There's the accelerated BSN, or BSN is second degree, which is for somebody who has their undergraduate and then wants to make a switch to nursing. There are MSN bridge programs, entry-level masters for people who have a healthcare background or a science background and then want to jump straight to a master's level. And then there are PhDs. I have actually met Dr. Nurses before. Again, you're going to see a lot of similarities between the nurse practitioners. Nurse midwives and nurse anesthetists are also what we typically refer to as advanced practice nurses. They have gone for the graduate degree in nursing to go for specialization and depth within a field. And then we have the physician assistants. The yearly salary is similar. All of them are master's or graduate degree. They are very quickly growing. But you'll see that there are far more nursing jobs available than there are, or nursing jobs existing than there are physician assistant jobs for the most recent 2016 data. Now here's where you may want to break out a pen and pad to take a few notes, because as this very apt graphic of yes, no, maybes, so stop, slow down, go, will illustrate, there is glass half empty, no single path that will get you to PA programs. But on the glass half full side, there are a lot of different ways that will get you to a PA program. There is no one major that is going to completely overlap with any sets of the prerequisites, so major doesn't matter, as I tell all of my pre-health students. What matters is your performance in the prerequisites. Physiology is by and large the most important and most confusing of any of the prerequisites. Here is a sample of some of the different wordings that you're going to see in some programs and how they want their anatomy and physiology prerequisites met. They'll say 1 class in each, 3 hours, 2 semesters of A&P will work. They want 6 hours of lecture and 2 hours of lab. Must be human A&P, preferred within 2 years of admission deadline. This is again one of those courses they'd like to see as close to your application as possible. Separate or combined A&P courses are accepted, and by that they mean anatomy 1 with lab and physiology 1 with lab, or A&P 1 with lab, A&P 2 with lab. And then the following, which is the final one, which is again anatomy with lab and physiology with lab. So how have UNC students done it in the past? How have UNC students met those prerequisites? Well, it's been very confusing because up until very recently, we didn't have a 2-semester anatomy and physiology taught with a biology prefix. So our EXSS students have done 175 anatomy, 276 physiology, and if they made a B or better, qualified for 275 L cadaver lab. You may notice that that is enough for a lot of the circumstances that were referenced in the last slide, but they do not have the second lab that a lot of programs are going to require. So my EXSS students have supplemented by taking Biology 252 with lab. That gets them more lecture hours than they know what to do with, and at least the 2 labs that are required. For my students who have not been EXSS and had needed to get that additional physiology credit, and it's because 252 was not enough on its own, they took Physiology 202, now called Physiology 292. It's a 5-hour credit class, but again, it didn't have a lab attached, so what are we going to do about that? For a very short period of time, I think only 2 summers, we offered Biology 352 and 353. It was my understanding from the faculty that that functioned as anatomy with lab, followed by physiology with lab. Now, it was a 2-semester sequence. It was the master key. Everybody loved it. There were circumstances beyond our control that did not allow that to be offered during the academic year. So in order to mitigate that problem, we developed, and by we, I mean faculty members, they did all the heavy lifting on this. I just picked the fights. 253 with lab, which is advanced anatomy and physiology. It is ostensibly a continuation of 252, and it is, for the purposes of a PA program, a 2-semester combined anatomy and physiology, part 1, part 2. Now, if none of those work for you, then there's always the opportunity to take courses outside UNC. There are any number of 4-year institutions that offer a 2-semester anatomy and physiology sequence, preferably through the biology department. At community colleges, through our articulation agreement, it is my understanding that they have historically been offered as Biology 168 and Biology 169. Community college credits for anatomy and physiology, if it's difficult to meet here at UNC, are perfectly fine. To consider, medical terminology. Here at UNC, that is offered as Classics 126, sometimes self-paced through the Friday Center, sometimes in class. Medical terminology is one of the only classes where it is not only okay to take online, but it is practically encouraged. No other prerequisite is generally accepted as an online credit. Taken outside of UNC, it can be online, it can be through class. There are some programs that will even accept a continuing education certificate style program. Preferably hours with a grade so that it is maximizing your opportunities for application. Chemistry is another incredibly confusing sequence. There are many programs that require 2 to 3 semesters of chemistry or 3 to 4 semesters of chemistry with a preference for organic or with a preference for biochemistry. UNC offers for our Bio BS majors the sequence of Gen Chem to Orgo with analytical to biochemistry. Now, other programs will offer chemistry as a organic and biochem co-requisites. They're not necessarily always prerequisites to get to biochem. So taking them outside UNC is also perfectly acceptable if you don't necessarily need them for your major. But if you're a Bio BS, it just makes sense to go ahead and do that whole sequence to get to the biochem Chem 430. For those who are not Bio BS, there are a lot of programs that will accept an allied health version of biochemistry, which is Bioc 107 and 108. Microbiology, there is also those who are biology BS majors, and it just makes sense for them to do one of their upper level biology 400 or above, microbiology 422. Students who are not biology majors, or even students who are and have space on their schedule and would rather do the NCRO 251 or 255, I didn't put that on there, but 255 is absolutely acceptable. 251 is Intro to Medical Microbiology, 255 is Intro to Microbiology. These are allied health versions of microbio. They are 4 credit hours, so they have the inclusive lab. So if you are very interested in a program that requires a lab, this might also be a better fit for you. To consider. Psychology, sociology, statistics. These are all differing levels of social science and or math that a lot of programs are going to require. Overall academic performance is incredibly important, but notice that I did not say GPA. Your GPA overall helps get your foot in the door. There's no confusing that. Your prerequisite GPA, the culmination of the coursework that you have taken in the prerequisites, is also incredibly important. But we understand that most PA applicants tend to be non-traditional. So we understand that someone who came in as a freshman and stumbled a little bit, but is planning to graduate and then work in the field and take additional classes along the way, is going to be a much more mature person than they were 5-6 years ago. So there are many PA programs that will do a separate calculation or weigh separately the last 45 to 60 hours more crucially than the first 45 to 60 hours. Go through these relatively quickly because all of these do exist on the website. This is on prehealth.unc.edu. You can click on the physician assistance link and you will have a breakdown for all of the prerequisites for all of the PA programs here in the state of North Carolina, in addition to requirements, particularly when some of their deadlines are, when they have preference for the GRE to be completed, patient contact hours that are required for them. So now we are going to talk about the clinical patient contact hours needed. Now, keep in mind, whatever you see as the hours needed as the minimum, even those that say they only need about 250 to 500 hours, they expect about 1,000 to be considered valid, and oh yeah, their incoming classes averaged over 2. Just as a matter of perspective, UNC's program has begun to, the program was begun as a means of helping former military. That's, I believe, where some of the funding came from. So their first year class was about half military, half civilian. They are focusing on non-traditional students, and their incoming class averaged over 9,000 patient contact hours. So keep those figures in mind when you're thinking, oh, I have 150. Maybe if I plan to get 250 by the time I actually apply, I might still be in the running. More hours will only make your application stronger. Take the time to build them before you think just throw your hat in the ring at the bare minimum. Now, what is accepted? By and large, absolutely. ENT and CNA are the number 1 and 2 interchangeably for means of gaining patient contact hours. Others include scribe. You're going to see some that say they don't accept scribe, but there are others that will absolutely consider it because there are varying levels of scribing. Scribing historically had been, I'm going to hand you a tape that I dictated and you are going to transcribe it in a small room. That is not the way a lot of scribe physicians are working these days. That is particularly not the way that UNC physicians scribe work. They build and maintain a relationship with a physician and do follow them through rich patient care settings with exposure to a variety of different procedures and diagnoses, and help get the patient history in a lot of circumstances. Almost anything with tech in the title will also work. X-ray tech, scrub tech, those are generally accepted positions. Med tech. CMA is certified medical assistant. That's a little bit longer certification, but there are some lower level medical assistant positions that will be provided on the job training to help get histories and clean instruments. Again, almost anything with tech in the title, with the exception of pharmacy tech. There are most programs that will not accept pharmacy tech as patient contact hours because they feel it is more customer service than actual patient interaction. There are a variety of experiences that are accepted, and PA programs like to see a variety of experiences. And I don't just mean in any one-year class. They like to see a variety of experiences with any given applicant. For that reason, CNA tends to be a much more flexible career path while in school. So some of my students will get their CNA cert, work part-time while they're finishing up their undergraduate career, and then seek ENT or CMA or advanced CNA or phlebotomy. Sorry, forgot to mention phlebotomy. That's another very popular one. Full-time post-graduation. How you do that and what you do according to your schedule. Remember, no amount of patient care hours are going to make up for a poor GPA. So don't feel like you're doing yourself a disservice by focusing on your classes and then thinking about gaining your patient contact hours on the other side of it. Everybody's timeline is different. There are so many individual factors that can drastically and greatly impact the application timetable for a student, whether they're traditional or non-traditional, what their majors are, what their financial circumstances are, what their summers look like. The majority of students here at UNC will focus on their coursework, do as well in their classes as possible, start acclimating to what patient contact hours look like potentially over the senior year, but most will choose to wait and work full-time post-graduation for at least a year or 2 before beginning the application process. PA programs are not looking for people straight out of undergrad to apply to their programs. The average age of a first-year PA student across the country is between 26.5 and 27 over the last couple of cycles. So that tells you a little something about the time people take to build these credentials necessary to be competitive. That being said, the application cycle happens about the same way every year. Application service for physician assistance programs known as CASPA. You all remember, I'm sure with fond memories, the Common App that you use to apply to college. Well, CASPA is the Common App that you use to apply to physician assistant programs. It is everything you know and love about the Common App on steroids. You will put in everything you've ever done in the history of ever, your personal statement narrative, your work and volunteer experience, anything that is health related. It is open for 11 months of the year, and that's sounds confusing and conflated, but that is because it also incorporates programs that not only have an August start date, but also those that have a January start date. So pay close attention when you get in here. You don't need to mess with it until you are actually beginning the application process for your cycle. Do take it down and scrub it. You remember how I said it's open 11 months of the year? That 12th month, they take everything down and scrub it before they reopen for the new cycle. So you do not need to get in and mess with any of this until you actually want to begin the application process. But it does incorporate, it has great little spreadsheets on participating programs and deadlines, hard deadlines and soft deadlines for each particular start date. People think that they're applying to PA programs because they weren't cut out for medical school, or this is a plan B. And that's absolutely not true. There is a work-life balance to be considered when you're moving forward, and the ability and the flexibility to move between specialties that the physician assistant programs, the profession will allow. There is something to be said for, yes, your boots are on the ground a lot quicker after a program that is shorter than medical school, but think about what I've just said about the number of patient contact hours that are required in order to be competitive, and how long your boots have to be on the ground, and how much experience you have to have prior to even being competitive. So don't feel like you are settling, but also don't feel bad if you don't have everything figured out right now. There are a lot of different factors that are going to influence your decision, and there's a lot of room for growth and change that is going to happen even as you tentatively or doggedly pursue this. But I'm here to help you sort what any of those options are. I'm here to help you explore what any of those rabbit holes might be and which ones you might want to go down a little bit further. On how to contact me. I am available through the UCS help desk to schedule appointments, but you can also do that by going online. I've tried really hard to scrub all references to Career Aligna because that is no longer the module that we are using. We are using an interface called Handshake, so you're going to start seeing that logo pop up everywhere. But Handshake is what's going to handle all of our scheduling now. Most of the information that I have covered today is absolutely available on the Pre-Health website. You're also going to want to go to the Pre-Health website and sign up for the Pre-Health listserv if you haven't already. It is rife with opportunities for part-time jobs, full-time jobs, outreach opportunities, student organizations holding interest sessions, when admissions committee members come do recruitment trips, or when schools host open houses and want to get to know UNC students. That is what I send the information out through, so make sure you are plugged into that resource. Another great resource available, and I apologize for the crappy graphic that ended up carrying over for this, but this is the Carolina Pre-Physician Assistant Association, CPPAA. Super fun to say again. They're a great resource bringing in speakers and informational events for our PA students here on campus. The resource for you is going to be PAEA Online, Physician Assistant Education Association. It is the governing body for all physician assistant programs in the country. It's going to have links to member institutions. It's going to have resources for students who are just vaguely interested and wanted to explore a little bit more with PAs. So it is a great thing to surf through and find some really, really valuable material. If you are so inclined, we are big on assessment here at University Career Services, so here is a bit.ly link that you can click on and fill out a little survey on my video to let me know if it was valuable, what help it provided, what maybe we could do better, or what information I can include a little bit more of in a future iteration of this video. So do feel free to type in this link and fill out a little survey and let us know what you think. So this presentation will be something that you can harken back to whenever you like, but please remember this is only the information that was current to me at the time of recording. Schools can change at a moment's notice, so always double check your information with as many other valuable and verifiable resources as you can. These tend to be PAEA, they tend to be CASPA, they tend to be the individual schools. But hopefully this will be a good resource to at least get you started. My job is to provide a foundation for you to then springform off of. Feel free to follow up with me by email. These are all things that we can discuss in much greater detail in individual student appointments. And thank you all for your time.